Doctors, healthcare professionals, a lot of times we find that we are on the back foot when it comes to things like managing our finances, taxes, investment. I'm not in the NHS pension, obviously. You lucky guys, you're in the NHS pension. If you've got a salary job, you're in the NHS pension. Now, for some of you didn't even realize there was a 60% tax trap. For every £2 above 100K, you lose £1 out of your tax allowance. You can imagine if you're paying more tax than you have to pay, it's hard for you to get ahead because basically, while you're paying more tax, I can use the extra money I've got to invest while you pay taxes. Right. So thank you everyone for joining. We're recording now, so that should be the recorded video should be available for you. First thing in the quiz is what's the maximum amount you can contribute to your ISA in a tax year? Can anyone just tell me or type it in the chat box? What's the maximum amount you can put in your ISA? 20K, easy question. All right, easy. All right. You guys, you know it too well. And what's the maximum amount you can put in your pension in a year? I mean, including your NHS pension, your SIPP. This is the second question. Some people are too fast, and I noticed some of the people in the mastermind who are already in the mastermind answer these questions too. Okay, I see 40K, Chidima, 60K, Adana. Shegu said 20K, Mosu said 60K, Chidima said 60K. All right. I applaud everyone who has given it a go. I've got the third question just to help me. Someone said no idea. That's the best answer. All right, okay. Now the third question on the Mentic, which you can't see, was when you think about investing, in one word, what do you feel like? What sort of feeling do you experience? I just want one word. Type it in the chat board for me. Uncertainty, thank you. Someone said excitement. Yeah, I like seeing that excitement, and I'm going to ask you a question, Chi, about that excitement. Ali says confused. Lloyd says concern. Chidego say great. Excitement, uncertainty. Shola said 50-50, and Sonia said money. Okay, lovely. All right. I'm just going to ask one last question before we delve in. When you think about taxes, I posted something today in our private group, in our community. HMRC has hired 5,000. They're thinking of hiring 5,000 new staff to help collect taxes. And I was thinking, okay, these taxes tend to squeeze people who are professionals, who you can easily tax because you can see how their money goes. I remember going to my barber today. I had to pay him cash. Obviously, I don't know how much tax he pays. It's not my problem whether he pays tax or not. In fact, I tip him 25%. But HMRC is hard to track people like that and billionaires, but it's easy to track people like us, doctors, lawyers, accountants in the middle. So let me see your words. When you think about tax, you think about Alushola putting an emoji. Okay, Shegun said tax bad limitation. Anderson putting more emojis. Where were these emojis when I was talking about investment? 31.1. And Dana said not again. Ali said Shylock. She said annoyance and frustration. Sonia said punishing. Yeah, and Kerr said helping the masses. Okay, yeah, of course. Crippling, very much high. I think I can say that in the UK the taxes can be quite high, especially for doctors. So thank you everyone for your participation. I think we're off to a banging start. So the first place I want to start is basically why are we having this session? We're doctors, healthcare professionals, medics. You probably saw some of my write-ups on LinkedIn, or you saw my YouTube video, or maybe someone even just sent this to you. So, and if somehow you stumbled into this session and you don't know me, I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. I'm Dr. Andy Agrim. I'm the founder of MONEYWISE.com. It's a platform that has already helped thousands of healthcare professionals to make smarter financial decisions. So I used to be a salaried GP, a former salaried GP. I left the salaried GP job 2 years ago. That was 2022, actually, December, when I got to a level of financial flexibility and freedom that allowed me that opportunity not to have to work for anyone at all. So I still hold my license as a doctor, but MONEYWISE Doctor seems to be taking most of my time these days. Last year we published I think about 60 blogs. We've created 300 videos, spoken about 14, 15 events, lots of webinars and all that kind of stuff. And of course, we now have a mastermind, which is like 20 doctors who I'm working with one-on-one for 12 months. And I think we did an investment masterclass last year that was 4 weeks. Day one was 5.5 hours. And I see Chi here, who said whenever she thinks of investment, she gets excited. She was part of that mastermind masterclass on investing. So I'm not surprised. It's no longer like a mystery for her. Right. So that's it. I get a lot of questions in my DMs. Like I saw somebody, Dr. Nwos, who said she found me on LinkedIn. Thank you. I get a lot of questions on my LinkedIn and my Instagram places, but I'm not able to answer all of them at once. That is part of why I put on this session, so that we can get people to ask real questions, not just what you read on a blog. Sometimes you've got nuanced questions, issues you want to address. And again, some of you were also asking questions about the mastermind, which is a 12-month program. We'll also answer that, obviously, for people who are interested. Right. So at this point, I want to just get into the first thing. Doctors, healthcare professionals, a lot of times we find that we are on the back foot when it comes to things like managing our finances, taxes, investment. You can imagine if you're paying double the tax I'm paying, it's hard for you to get ahead. If you're paying more tax than you have to pay, it's hard for you to get ahead, because basically, while you're paying more tax, I can use the extra money I've got to invest while you pay taxes. Now, for some of you, you didn't even realize there was a 60% tax trap. You were just hearing about it for the first time when you read one of my articles, or you've heard it from somewhere.
Here's how to avoid the 60% tax trap as a doctor or healthcare professional. This could actually literally save you thousands of pounds, because you could be unknowingly paying an effective tax rate of 60%. Now, many doctors think that the most tax they pay is 45%. But that's not right. You may have fallen into the 60% tax trap due to a sneaky rule about personal tax allowances. Now, let me tell you how it works. Everyone, especially in the UK, Northern Ireland, England, and Wales, has a personal tax-free allowance of 12,570. Once you exceed 100k in income, you start to lose that tax allowance, and by the time you hit 125k, it's almost like you're punished with this sneaky 60% tax, because your effective tax rate becomes 60%. You've lost all your tax allowance. Now, I've done a guide that will tell you step by step how this works, a checklist to check if you are falling into it and how to avoid it. Thousands of medics have already used this guide to save thousands of pounds and secure their financial future. Don't miss out. Download the guide with the link in the description, and I hope it helps. Let's jump right back to the episode.
So the 60% tax trap happens when, or if you find yourself you in above 100k, between 100k and 125k, you start to lose your allowance. So there's an allowance everyone gets. It's called the personal tax allowance, and it's £12,570 annually. And when I say annually, I don't mean January to February. I mean like the tax year, which runs from April 6 to April 5. Now, everyone gets that tax allowance, meaning that if you make any amount up to 12,570, you don't pay any tax on it. Right. I think that's clear to all of us. Now, what happens is that once you cross 100k, for every £2 above 100k, you lose £1 out of the 60 out of your 12,570. So for every extra £2 you make above 100k, you just keep losing. And for those of you who want to play around with the figures, you can go to nhssallarycalculator.com. I think Yudi will post it in the chat. We can also send it at the end of the event. That's just a calculator I built. We built it online to answer the questions, because we had a lot of people asking, how do I know if I've hit the 60% tax trap? How do I know at what point I can actually put more in my pension? How do I know how much more I can earn before I get there? So we build that calculator. Once you hit that number, automatically it will flash up and tell you you're beginning to lose your tax allowance. All right. But today is not about the NHS salary calculator. It's just to deal with specific issues. Now, if you earn above 100k, for every £2 above 100k, you lose £1 out of your tax allowance. And by the time you hit £125,000, Or if you want to be really specific, it's 125,140 pounds. Once you hit that amount, whether it's come from your salary or if you've come from rental property, or maybe you did some medical surveys, like some of us that follow my emails, you do medical surveys and you get paid. Once you hit that amount, then by that point you've lost the entire tax-free allowance of 12,570. And at that point, what's going to happen? You just start paying 60% on anything above that amount. So it's your marginal tax rate is just unbelievable. A lot of doctors don't know about it. You've never heard about it. You just wonder why you're earning so much. But at the end of the day, there's not a lot going home. Now, just to make sure we're all on the same page, before, let's say, when was the first time you heard about the 60% tax trap? If you can remember, if you tell me in the chat, did you just hear about it now, or did you hear about it before? Or maybe you heard about it, you didn't know what to do about it. Can you tell me when you heard about it? Okay, so Kes says 2 years ago. Last year, roughly. Okay, right. So yeah, you heard about it from my post. Okay, that's good. Was that recently on LinkedIn or okay on LinkedIn? Okay, a few months ago, last year. All right, so you guys are all clued in. There's no one that just heard about it for the first time now. Oh yeah, Migdala said didn't know and got trapped. Yeah, I think I got a message from a Dr. Scott on she said she searched Chat GPT about this stuff, and then Chat GPT sent her my video. And she said, dude, you're on ChatGPT is now recommending your videos. Right. Irrespective of when you heard about it, what's important is what can you do about it? And one of the biggest ways to deal with the 60% tax trap, we've already talked about, there are many options, but the biggest option is through pension. So because everyone is allowed a 60,000 pounds pension. I know you guys gave the answers. Yeah, the correct answer is 60,000 pounds pension allowance. So those of you that got it, you can put your hands together for yourself. You're allowed every year in the UK, every tax year, you're allowed 60,000 pounds. That's the maximum amount you can put in your pension. I know. If you're an ST1, you're thinking, well, I don't have that amount of money. Yeah, but it's good you know about it before you hit that amount. And I can see consultants and GPs. I can see some of you that already know that have been in sessions. I can see you nodding your head because probably you were already affected. I think someone Migdala mentioned here that she was affected. Excellent. Yeah, someone asked, is that the NHS pension? That includes everything. Your NHS pension, if you've got a private pension, if you've got a salary sacrifice, anything that you put into your pension, 60,000 is the maximum you can put in a year. There are two problems here. Some people don't use all the allowance, and then there are people who use less than the allowance. And if you don't have the extra cash, yeah, that's fine. But some people have, but they don't know that they can actually use up the allowance. So one way to go about it could be contribute as much as you can to your NHS pension if you're in the NHS pension. I'm not in the NHS pension, obviously. You lucky guys, you're in the NHS pension. If you've got a salary job, you're in the NHS pension. So you can actually ring up your NHS pension administrator to ask them, oh, I want to add some more to my pension. And a lot of times they will tell you the amount you can put in, not very much, especially if you're a consultant. Most times you're already contributing as much. If you read my my guide on the 60% tax trap, I put in the levels you can contribute for your pension. Again, I put in the exact number in my guide. So again, that doesn't bring you to that 60K. So now if you don't use up your 60K, that's fine. But that's one strategy. If you decide to put in as much as you can into that, that will automatically reduce the amount that is taxable because your pension is counted before you're taxed. Now, even if you end up not using up your whole NHS, if you don't use your whole allowance because the NHS pension was not enough to get there, you can still go ahead and use a private pension. So that's what the SIPP. Private pension is, there are many options. There's self-invested personal pension, which I prefer because you can manage it by yourself. You don't have to pay any crazy fees if you use the right platforms that charge little or no fees. And again, there's SARS, which is a bit more difficult to manage. But your private pension, you can decide to use it to get up to that amount. Again, for people who run limited companies, like Ada is here, I know a few other people. If you run a limited company for your locum, you can actually pretty much pay directly from your from your locum account. You pay into your limited company pension, or alternatively, you can pay into your personal account and pay into your pension. It's called director's pension. Director's pension. So the director's pension, you're allowed as a director of a company to have a pension. So if you don't have the NHS pension, you can go ahead and pay into your personal pension, your SIPP. Okay, so I'm going to pause here and look at our parking lots.
Well, I hope you found that helpful. And more importantly, I hope it helped you to see investing in a new light. This is just a small section of what we cover in the full masterclass. If you'd like me to drop more of these clips, just let me in the comments. Comment invest and share this video as well with friends who may need to hear this. And if you are ready to stop winging it and guessing, guesswork is not good for investing. If you want to learn how to become a confident investor, to learn how to invest properly, check out our investing readiness scorecard with the links in the description. It will help you determine whether you're really ready to start investing and what you need to do before you even start thinking about investing to reduce the chances of you losing money. And until then, see you soon. Bye-bye.